Oh, right. Well, good morning, everybody. This is the All About Nothing podcast, kind of daily show. It is Saturday, January the 18th, here in the 2025, and it's going to be it's going to be I think an interesting next few days. Um, there is the inaugurations on Monday, and Donald Trump will be inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States. Um, I know that some of the stuff that I've seen on TikTok and some of the messages and comments that people have been leaving with the podcast have there have been a lot of people that keep saying the same thing, and that is that they believe that that there will not be that Donald Trump won't get inaugurated. Um, and as much as I would have believed that on November the 4th before the election, because again I was wrong about the election. Um, I just want to make sure my audio is coming through. Um, as much as I would have liked to have believed that that was the case on November 4th, uh, after November 5th, and the election results came in, Donald Trump was elected to be the 47th president of the United States. And uh, that isn't something that can just be undone. And I think that we are at the point where we have to, we're past the point where we have to face that reality. Um, this is, and ultimately it's a hard pill to swallow because we 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 want good things to happen for our country. We want our country to uh, thrive. We want our country to do well. We want our country to treat its citizens well. We want our country to be uh, that shining beacon on the hill. But um, I think in this situation we have to hold out hope that bad things won't happen. We have to hold out hope that that there is a success for our country. That the United States won't fall into an authoritarian rule. And I recognize that there are a lot of people on uh, on the Trump side that would say that's ridiculous. That's never going to happen. And I don't. It's I can't say that I don't have some of those concerns. Um, I have lived these nearly 46 years recognizing behaviors and trends and things like that. And while sure, it's easy to deny the potential that there could possibly be a uh, fall in democracy. I don't want it to happen, and I have to hold out hope that this is a 4-year term, that negative things don't happen, and that this is a 4-year term that the country again prospers. So it it doesn't mean that, at least here on the podcast, that we won't continue to critique. Uh, we won't we will continue to um, follow along, and we will make comments about some of the absurdities. We will continue to um, we will continue to fight the power where the uh, power is fighting us. Um, and ultimately, I think that's where most of us have to find that line, because you know I'm not saying that it's the right perspective, but I try to look at it from the right's perspective, which is that 4 years ago, because of comments that Donald Trump said, because he refused to concede the election, because he didn't want to attend the inauguration, because he He had for months had said that he had won the election. uh you know, those sorts of things, that behavior, um I look at it from the right and recognize, because there are people so adamantly supportive of him, that there are people that believe 100% everything that he says. And AZ says, I think Donnie has a plan this time around and will make our day to day lives even a little better. And AZ, I sincerely hope you're right. And I will I will root for the good things when it comes to the things that I feel like are impeding on our rights as citizens in the country. If it comes to the things that, and ultimately I think that's the attitude we should all have, is that, one, if we see zero progress, um, if we see that, uh, I, and I don't want to speculate on what is going to happen, but if we see those things happen, and they generally look like they're designed to hurt people, then I think that it's our right, and we should have a an ability to speak out against those things. I am not one of these people that falls into this idea that we need to have this mass deportation of anyone who's a non-citizen. There are millions of people in this country that are migrant workers, that are here, that are non-documented for as citizens. They're not citizens, but they're here as migrant workers because they do the work for low wages that Americans don't do. There aren't a lot of Americans that will walk through thousands of acres of produce to pick produce at, a bag, a dollar per bag. There aren't a lot of Americans that will do that. They won't go and work in 100-degree heat in Texas. Moonshadow's right. Yeah. Migrant workers, because we won't do the work. And part of the reason that we won't do the work is because the cost of living in the United States continues to go up, but we don't see wages increasing. We don't see we they're not illegal. See, that's part of the problem, is that there's a clear definition between someone who's here illegally and someone who is here as a migrant worker. Uh, those two are not equal. They're different. Um, AZ said, but if they're illegal, don't you think we should follow the rules and send them back? That's the problem. They're not, those are not migrant workers that are here working, are not illegal. Our State Department has rules and regulations for the migrant workers that come into this country, and sometimes they come in for a week, sometimes they come in for a day, sometimes they come in for a month, but they always return back to their home country. And I think that's one of the fundamental issues with knowledge in this country, is that the people don't understand what it is that they're actually talking about. Mm, You're right. Wages. So AZ said, we've controlled inflation very well, but wages are still low. That's where Biden fell short. Well, here's the problem: Trump isn't going to control wages. Wages are going to continue to stay low. Um, I can speak directly from my own experience this year, and this is not a result of Donald Trump. This is a result of corporations figuring out that they can amass substantial profits and not have to make any returns to the employees that work for them. Um, and the skyrocketing cost of health insurance. Again, these are things that the president can't fix. Health insurance is fundamentally the cost of health insurance in this country is fundamentally our Congress. Our Congress is absolutely the problem when it comes to the insurance and the cost of healthcare in this country. We have insurance companies that now own hospitals. We have insurance companies in this country that now own living care facilities. They own the prescription pharmacies. Like, the insurance companies have basically squirmed their way into every facet of health. and Congress has let them do it. And Congress has let them do it because the lobbyists are putting money into their campaigns. I Okay, so AZ asked me a question. Why do you think Zuckerberg did a 180 and is trying to be buddy with Trump? Because and you can disagree with me, but Zuckerberg had always been buddy with the Democrats. Not always. He has tended to lean more to the left than towards the right. And I think among the elite rich in this country, the Mark Zuckerbergs, what's his name, the guy that owns Amazon and the Wall Street, the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos, um, they see they see how Elon Musk has worked his way into okay, and just so that there are no there's no information left out. Elon Musk has been a bastion of liberalism up until 2024. That is a fact. It's same as Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a New York liberal Democrat up until he decided to run for president. Yes, he spoke out against, or he claimed the birtherism against Obama in 2012, but that was that was merely him testing the waters. That was him dipping his toes into the Republican sphere just to see how he could mix it up. So, never, that's there are Democrats are Democrats or progressives that have been that have been progressives and been liberals, all their lives. And there are Republicans who have been conservative and they have been Republicans and held to that foundation of their being all their lives. And then there are the ones that flip flop back and forth because it works best for their situation. Elon Musk found in Donald Trump someone that if he gave money to his campaign to get him elected, and you know, I don't know that Elon Musk's money got Donald Trump elected, um, but it was an investment into Donald Trump that has yielded him unbelievable profits from November 5th until from November 5th on. Elon Musk's value, his paper value, has doubled. And there are some economists that look at what Elon Musk has done since the election, as far as how much he's increased in value. There are some out there that think that by Donald Trump's 100th day, Elon Musk will be the first person in history to ever have a net value of $1 trillion. Uh, Elon Musk, and this isn't. I'm not. I am. Please recognize I am not saying anything negative about Elon Musk. I think that he's incredibly intelligent. I think that he is. He has the background and he. Trying to think of a way to say it without making it sound like I'm a fanboy. I'm not. I don't like Elon Musk personally. I don't like Elon Musk um, as this uh, overseer. I don't like how he. I don't like the way that he takes over. I don't like the way he treats his employees. Um, I wouldn't work for Elon Musk, and he probably wouldn't hire me. You know. So it's the same coin, but um, Elon Musk hasn't invented anything. But I do see traits in Elon Musk that are similar to Donald Trump. I don't know who at SpaceX was the group or the team or whatever that said, "Hey, what would save a lot of money is if we could make this rocket come back to Earth and successfully land, and then we can reuse that rocket. We don't have to pull it out of the ocean. Uh, we don't have to, we don't have to." find it, so if it was Elon Musk that was his idea, then I'll give it to him, but he didn't make it happen. There was a team of engineers and scientists that made that developed the software and the hardware in order to make that rocket, that booster, land where it lands, so that they can save money on the recovery. Elon Musk didn't invent that. He wasn't part of the engineering team that did it. Again, if it was him that potentially said it would be a great idea for us to save money by doing this, then he assigned it to a team. But Elon Musk didn't create SpaceX. Elon Musk didn't create Tesla. Elon Musk didn't create Neuralink. Hell, he didn't even create PayPal. These aren't things that he invented. He just invested into them. And because of his generational wealth, he was able to invest more and more into them so that he got to the point where he could then take over these companies. So, um, but I'm not going to take that away from him, because I think that Elon Musk, as the individual that stands out, whether you like him or you don't, he still draws people into him. I am not a Tesla owner. Uh, for one, I don't. I've ridden in all four models of the Teslas. Um, you're right. AZ's right. It's generational wealth from blood diamonds in South Africa. That is a fact. His family owned mines in Africa, where basically people went into the mines to dig out the gems, precious gems and diamonds, and those were turned over to the family that were sold. Um, that's how they made their money. Um, and while I can't say that I like the living conditions or the working conditions that these people were put through to bring the Musk family their money, um, that's how they made their money, and that's where Elon Musk's wealth comes from, so that he can invest in those things. Um, so what I was trying to get at was, I think that Elon Musk and Donald Trump are sort of similar, not just because they're both wealthy individuals, not just because they own companies, that not just because of the things that are obvious, but I think in how Donald Trump and Elon Musk sort of have an outside the box thinking when it comes to potential solutions to things. Um, One of the things that, when Donald Trump was president and South California had a batch of wildfires, and I don't remember what year it was, but it happened because it happens frequently. Um, he did say that, and it was pointed in the wrong direction, but he did say that they should clean up the undergrowth in the forests in California, and and he blamed the state of California for it not being cleaned up, that there was overgrowth. But um, I guess when I initially heard that, my thought wasn't, "Oh, that's a terrible idea." My initial thought was, "That sounds absurd. Why would you blame the state for that?" Much of California's forest area is federally owned property, and therefore it would, in my opinion, be the federal government's responsibility to take care of that. I live here in South Carolina, and a friend of mine used to work for the Department of Natural Resources, and one of the things that they would do is, um, on a regular basis, when it was necessary, they would go out into into the state parks, and they would do controlled burns to keep that down, because you know they can forecast the potential for a dry season months ahead of time. We can look at and we know what the tendencies are. We know where when we're going to have dry seasons, and we know when we're going to have wet seasons, and or what we used to. You know, but for the most part, we can forecast that and prepare for it. And so they do controlled burns in the state parks to make sure that there isn't a lot of undergrowth that would potentially be a uh, a harbinger of a potential fire to come. And that in itself is what California should do. But I don't live in California. I don't live in Los Angeles. I have friends that live in Los Angeles. I have friends that live in California. My sister lives in Richmond, up near Oakland. Um, and you can't prevent drought. We're past the stage where I think we've passed that tipping point where we can have some positive effect on the environment. And I hate to say that, but I think that's where we're at. But so I don't know if the Department of Natural Resources or some department that works for the state of California does any sort of controlled burns. I assume they probably do, you know. Um, but it's January, who imagines having experienced wildfires in Southern California and Arizona, who imagines that wildfires take place in winter? So again, it's there is some negligence when it comes to preparing for these potential situations. Um and Donald Trump is uh he Donald Trump says the things uh that you don't like the way he says them. And I don't. I don't like a lot of the things and the way he says a lot of the things that he says. But and maybe it's because of the simplicity. Maybe it's because when I hear him say something that fundamentally uh feels triggering, and my immediate response is uh to have a negative reaction to what he said. Um, I'm uh, look. I think he's an incredibly flawed individual, and people that think he's perfect, um, you know, he is just as flawed as the rest of us. I think it's irresponsible to give him uh, the this odd amount of power over ourselves. I mean, he's the president. He's a human being, just like the rest of us. He's not a god. He's not a king. Um, but so, but I think sometimes the simplicity of how he approaches a potential solution um, isn't isn't wrong. It isn't immediately wrong. Thanks, Pete. You're probably right. Pete too says that he thinks that I should shut up and that this mic is too good. Also spelled Mike wrong, but good try. I'm always impressed with people that get the suggestion on their phone. You should correct this before you send it, and they go, "No, no, I'm doubling down. I'm right." So, thanks, Pete. Scroll on. Do yourself a favor. Um, I think that Donald Trump is dangerous when it comes to respect of how other countries see us. We have existed for 200 and almost 50 years with the uh, treaties and allies that our country has made that have been built on economics and have built on security. And uh, I have a genuine fear, and this isn't, this is speculation, and I admit it. I have until it happens, I have no evidence to support it. But um, I have fear that our relationships with other countries are going to be undermined. Um, that is So Pete responded. He said, "I wasn't even effing thinking about what I said. There's that dumb ass good look." I don't I don't know what he's trying to say. But your talent is abounding. So anyway, I do genuinely fear relationships with other countries being undermined, especially with trying to seek relationships with countries that have abysmal uh, uh, human rights, how they treat their citizens. North Korea, Donald Trump hasn't said anything about buddying up with North Korea this time. Um, if you believe some of the information out there, uh, uh, see, and okay, so I assume it's JC. JC says we need to stop worrying about other people and take care of our own people. Or she says of take care of our own people. There's a problem with that. um, in the United States, currently, as of some recent statistic, there are some 16 million homes across the country that are currently unoccupied, that are bank owned, that have been foreclosed on. People have moved out. That people have never moved in. We have 16 million homes across this country, um, and a lot of those homes aren't even up for sale. Like they're not listed. You can't buy them. These are just properties that are listed as that are not available. That some of them are, and we have homeless in this country now. We talk about not help we don't want to help people outside of this country until we help the people in this country first. And there is a fundamental problem with how we treat our homeless veterans in this country. We have a fundamental problem with how we treat the homeless in general in this country. Because if you fall to that point, uh, there is there's very little support in a system, from a federal or state um, level, to help get you up to the point where you can help yourself. Some states have tackled this situation with uh, I'm all over the place this morning, and I should have probably stuck to one topic and just, but I see comments, and then I roll through them. Um, some states have tackled the issue of homelessness. Um, in some states, which I think this is the worst way to handle it, they just put homeless people on buses and move them out of their cities, and that's a city function. Um, some states, some conservative states, I think Utah is one of them, have actually gone to the extent of purchasing homes, and or I guess purchasing homes at low cost, and then providing or allowing allowing those homes to either be used and then potentially bought back from the state. I'm not I don't know how it works exactly, but there are there are states that are trying to come up with solutions for the homelessness problem. And ultimately, I think that a lot of it just comes down to trying to show as much respect to human beings as possible. And I think that's one of the things that I feel like gets lost in the conversation, is how that gets. Az says California definitely does not handle them at all. Well, and I think that's disappointing if that's true. Um, I know that San Francisco, on my visits to San Francisco, I saw a lot of homeless people. I'm from Atlanta, and you walk around downtown, the streets of Atlanta, you see a lot of homeless people. Here in Columbia, South Carolina, you go to the if you drive past the Richland County Library on Assembly Street, you see a lot of homeless people. There is a shelter that is there, or there's a couple shelters that are nearby there that that are designed to feed and clothe and house. But ultimately, if they are, uh, they don't stay there. They don't just stay in the shelter during the day. I mean, unless weather. But um, it's one of those situations that our country our country has this idea that we are the best at everything that we do, and I really want us to be. But because of things like the housing crisis, the homelessness, someone mentioned in the chat, drugs, prescription drugs, medications, things like that. Um, we are really falling short on on this. People, we talk about we should help the people in our country before we try to help people in other countries. The same people that say those things, not all of them, and not including all of them, but some of the people that say those things are the same people that say that um, we should get rid of Medicaid. We should get rid of we shouldn't have Medicare. We shouldn't have a social network or a social system in place that helps people. We shouldn't have a public option as far as a universal health care because people don't want to support other people. They don't want to pay into it. They don't want to help by paying into a system that they don't want to pay into a system that is ultimately probably possibly never going to benefit them, but it will benefit someone else who is a US citizen, is from here. And I think fundamentally that's one of the problems. We aren't sending all of our money to Ukraine. And I understand that you potentially have heard someone tell you that. That was Lorraine. We aren't sending all of our money to Ukraine. We're barely sending. We send virtually no money to Ukraine in comparison to the amount of money the United States has. We actually spend more on Medicaid and Medicare than in all of the money that's gone to Ukraine, and that's a fact. I'm not sure what that number is. You put up 8 billion, 0.16 billion. Do you, do you, do you know how much money this country brings in? The United States is the richest country on the planet. The United States is the largest, basically the largest business on the planet. Eight, if it was 8 billion, I think it's actually closer to like 90 billion. But it's a drop in the bucket over the course of the last 3.5 years, almost 4 years now. Our support for Ukraine, and I still don't understand how people don't recognize that our support for Ukraine is we are legally tied to helping Ukraine. The Budapest Accord was signed so that Ukraine would not pursue nuclear interest despite the fact that they already had the infrastructure, they already had the technology, and they could do it. And Ukraine would have protected itself from Russia with nuclear weapons, and Russia would have protected itself from Ukraine with nuclear weapons. The Budapest Accord was signed to stop both of them from arming themselves against each other. And we agreed as the United States to protect Ukraine along with all of our other allies, that we would stand and help Ukraine. NATO, a number of allies in NATO also signed this accord, but we are legally bound to provide support for Ukraine through the Budapest Accord because we didn't want nuclear Armageddon in Europe. That's what it's for. And that's why, because it's less expensive for us to send $90 billion over the course of 4 years than it is for us to to allow Russia and Ukraine to swap nuclear bombs. because Russia's nuclear bombs won't just hit Ukraine. They will hit Poland. They will hit Norway. They will then make their way to France and the UK and Germany. That our allies in Asia will then be distracted, and China will launch an attack against Taiwan. This is all in prevention of a nuclear holocaust. And the idea that some people look at Ukrainians or the country of Ukraine as being a lesser place, that these are not the same as us in America. We are I'm grateful for the fact that we don't have currently that we don't have some sort of um, we're not arming ourselves against Canada, that we're not arming ourselves against Mexico or Brazil. Like that's sort of that situation. And again, Russia will take any advantage that they can. And if they take Ukraine, that isn't where it ends. Putin doesn't have any interest in stopping at Ukraine. Poland is the next place, and Poland is a NATO, and Poland is our one of our allies. So this idea of not helping one of our allies that is a sovereign country, I don't understand. I don't under. It's not scare tactics. These aren't scare tactics. This is the truth. This is Putin's playbook. The Soviet Union owned Ukraine. The Soviet Union uh, had visions of expansion. Vladimir Putin is the Russian president over what used to be the Soviet Union, or pieces. It's just the Russian Federation now, but he was a KGB agent. He doesn't care about people. He's made that very clear. Hell, he had Tucker Carlson interview him. Tucker Carlson thought it was the greatest interview he'd ever gave, and then Putin turned around, stabbed him back, and was like, "This guy's a shithead." That's what he does. I mean, there's no denying it. Putin wants the Soviet Union back, and it's not just for grandeur. Putin wants the Soviet Union back because some of the countries that they lost from the Soviet Union that became their own sovereign nations have resources that Russia doesn't have anymore, that the Soviet Union had, but the Russia doesn't have. So it's resources. It's Ukraine is one of the largest wheat producers in all of Europe. These are facts. How Arnaldo says, how many military bases Russia and China has around the world? How many of the US? Yeah, US has tons. Uh, Russia, I don't think has as many. China definitely has as many. China and Russia's game for worldwide domination compared to the United States game for worldwide domination is more of an economic. Uh, China and Russia are both heavily investing in Africa right now because of one, natural resources, but two, Africa is a continent that has a lot of countries in it that are um, economically finding it very difficult to survive. They go through uh, many, regime changes because of the economic situation. And China and Russia are taking advantage of that, not militarily, but there is Russian military on the ground in parts of Africa. The Chinese have military on the ground in parts of Africa, and Africa is ultimately where they see that they will benefit the most. And again, it almost always comes down to resources. Why do we want Greenland? Why does Donald Trump want Greenland? Well, it's national security because um, it definitely provides the United States with a potential launching point. Uh, and the natural resources. I mean, there are precious metals. There's lithium. I mean, that's why do we want Greenland? Because of the resources. That's what we want. Um, well, I feel like I've probably gone on long enough. Panama Canal. Why do we want Panama Canal? That one is a little different. That one I don't understand. You know, Trump will say that it's because the Chinese are taking advantage of the Panamanians, and their government. And um, I don't, Andrew, trust me. Um, I am in full support of our military, active and inactive, our veterans, full support. Um, but we spend a lot of money on defense. We spend almost $1 trillion, and $1 trillion on an army that is probably, between all of the branches and all of the national guards around the country, it is an immense amount of money that's being spent. But a lot of that money isn't being spent on the actual people that are sacrificing their time and potentially sacrificing their lives. And um, our Veterans Affair Administration has not done well for the people that have supported this country, that have given or could potentially give the ultimate sacrifice in support of this country. And it's disappointing. I have friends and family members. I was never in the military, um, but I have the utmost respect for everyone involved in the lives of people that are in the military, because that is there is too much potential for someone to not come home. And it's not just affecting them, it's affecting their family and their friends. And the Veteran Affairs Administration in this country is a disservice. Uh, and not because the people that work for the VA. It isn't because of the people that work for the VA. It is because of the lack of attention given to the VA, because that VA provides support for active and veterans, active and retired and inactive. Um, yeah, um, and I'm constantly disappointed by some of the things that I hear about the Veterans Affairs program. Um, and it all comes down to how much money is being invested in, or by the Department of Defense, into uh, things that are not support of their, basically their employees. And these, that's, I think that's how they look at it. I think the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, looks at these people as their employees and not assets. And maybe that's the problem. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. If it feels like this is something you might be interested in, please do me a favor, follow us, subscribe to the All About Nothing podcast, where we talk about real things, and we discuss them. Our episodes come out on a weekly basis. You can check out theallaboutnothing.com, where we have links to all of our social media podcast platforms, as well as merchandise. We have t-shirts. You can support the show by buying t-shirts, hats, that sort of thing. As well, we have uh, a YouTube channel in case TikTok does go dark. We are on YouTube. We're actually live on YouTube right now, and I'm hoping that we will see a lot of people migrate over to YouTube. You can subscribe to us. The links are on our homepage, theallaboutnothing.com. So anyway, you all have a fantastic Saturday. If you are in the path of this potential winter storm, just prepare. Don't, if you can, stay home. If you lose power, do yourself a favor, go ahead and figure out where they're, find the shelters that are closest to you, that are going to have heat, electricity, and possibly food. And this is a storm that is potentially going to affect, and I know it's going to be Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is when the storm is supposed to make its way through the southeast. But these are places that are not prepared for ice, and um, it's just a it's just a good idea to prepare now. Find shelters that could potentially take you in, so that you have that prepared. You know where to go, and your plants. I mean, sorry, your pets. Plants. Some people plants are important, but pets. Make sure you have a plan to take care of your pets too. Um, that's serious situation. So, all right. Thank you everybody for watching. You all stay safe. Please be kind to each other, and keep your hands to yourself.